The Philippines is entering a new phase of defense modernization, one defined not by fighter jets or frigates, but by missiles, compact, mobile, and politically transformative. As tensions in the West Philippine Sea continue to intensify, Manila has shifted from a passive defensive stance to an active deterrence doctrine. This change, sometimes referred to by defense analysts as the missile middle game, is built on three layers of capability: coastal strike systems like BrahMos, mobile anti-ship batteries such as the American NMESIS, and the emerging ambition to acquire mid-range ballistic missiles capable of reaching deep into the contested South China Sea. The foundation of this transformation began with the BrahMos program, a landmark defense deal signed in 2022 with India. Valued at approximately $375 million United States dollars, the contract covered 3 batteries of supersonic cruise missiles designed for coastal defense. The weapon, jointly developed by India and Russia, can travel at nearly 3 times the speed of sound and strike targets up to 290 kilometers away. For the Philippines, the first BrahMos battery deployed on Palawan in 2024 marked a new era: the ability to hold intruding warships at risk without relying on aircraft or large surface vessels. The second delivery, expected in 2025, will expand this capability to Luzon and the Northern Islands, providing overlapping coverage of key maritime choke points. Strategically, it converts the Philippines from a purely defensive actor into a state capable of active denial in its own waters. This first layer of deterrence is modeled after India's coastal strike doctrine, a concept designed to deter superior naval powers by denying them easy access to littoral zones. In Manila's case, it is a direct response to repeated incursions by Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels around the Spratly Islands and Reed Bank. By deploying BrahMos launchers along narrow island corridors, the Philippine Marine Corps creates what strategists call dead zones, areas where hostile ships would be forced to operate under constant threat of precision strike. It is a small but significant mirror of China's own anti-access strategy in the South China Sea. The second layer of the deterrence structure emerged more recently with the introduction of the United States Marine Corps' NMESIS system, the Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System. During Exercise Balikatan in 2025, American forces reportedly deployed a mobile NMESIS battery to northern Luzon and the Batanes Islands, roughly 200 kilometers south of Taiwan. The system uses the Norwegian-designed Naval Strike Missile, a stealthy, sea-skimming weapon with a range of 185 kilometers, mounted on lightweight Joint Light Tactical Vehicles. The purpose is mobility, to move fast, hide easily, and strike hard. For the Philippines, the presence of NMESIS units during exercises, even if temporary, signals a new degree of integration with American expeditionary operations. It also places Chinese naval assets transiting the Bashi Channel within potential range of Allied missile fire. Chinese media outlets reacted sharply to the deployment, describing it as provocative and destabilizing. Yet, from Manila's perspective, NMESIS complements the BrahMos perfectly. The Indian system provides heavy, long-range firepower, while the American system adds flexibility and interoperability. Together they form a tactical web that strengthens deterrence without committing the Philippines to permanent foreign bases. For the first time since the closure of Subic and Clark in the 1990s, missiles, not manned aircraft or ships, are serving as the connective tissue between Filipino and American forces. The most intriguing and controversial rumors, however, involve the possible acquisition of mid-range ballistic missiles. Reports surfaced in October 2025 suggesting that the Philippine Department of National Defense was exploring options for missiles with ranges of up to 1,000 kilometers. Potential suppliers include the United States, Japan, and South Korea. American sources point to the Typhoon system, a ground-based launcher for the Standard Missile-6 and Tomahawk cruise missiles. Japan could offer its extended-range Type 12 missile, while South Korea might consider a variant of its Yunmu-22 series. Each option would move the Philippines beyond tactical defense into the realm of strategic deterrence, the ability to strike targets well beyond its territorial seas. Beijing quickly condemned the idea, calling it extremely irresponsible. Chinese analysts warned that any deployment of such systems would make the Philippines a forward launchpad for American military operations. From their perspective, these weapons threaten not only Chinese installations in the South China Sea, but also naval assets operating out of Hainan. Nevertheless, the logic from Manila's side is straightforward. A credible deterrent requires the ability to impose costs. Missiles, particularly those with long reach and high mobility, can do so without requiring a massive navy or air force. For a nation with limited resources, this represents the most efficient path toward sovereignty enforcement. When seen together, these programs reveal a coherent three-layer deterrence architecture. The first layer, BrahMos, provides static coastal defense. The second, NMESIS, offers mobile, networked firepower. The third, still under discussion, would project strategic reach across the maritime domain. Integrated through radar and sensor sharing agreements with the United States and Japan, these layers contribute to what defense planners call a maritime common operating picture. The objective is not to defeat China in open war, but to raise the operational and political costs of aggression to an unacceptable level. Every kilometer of range added, every missile battery deployed, multiplies the uncertainty faced by any potential aggressor. China's countermoves are likely to follow a familiar pattern, increasing Coast Guard patrols around the Spratly Chain, deploying more aircraft near Palawan, and amplifying propaganda portraying Manila as a puppet of Washington. Yet beneath the rhetoric lies strategic recognition. The Philippines has learned from its northern and western neighbors, Poland, Taiwan, and South Korea, that credible defense does not depend on parity, but on deterrence through punishment. A handful of well-placed missile systems can complicate the calculations of a much larger adversary. Still, this transformation carries significant risks. The Defense Modernization Plan, known as Horizon 3, covering the years 2025 to 2030, allocates roughly $35 billion across all military branches. Sustaining advanced missile systems will demand more resources than traditional equipment. Maintenance costs for BrahMos batteries, NMESIS vehicles, and radar networks will climb rapidly. Moreover, dependence on external suppliers, India, the United States, Japan, and South Korea, exposes the Philippines to potential disruptions in spare parts and training pipelines. To mitigate this, defense planners are considering establishing a missile maintenance and training center in Subic or Cavite, which could eventually service allied systems across the region. If these initiatives materialize, by 2030 the Philippines could field one of Southeast Asia's most layered and credible missile networks. 3 BrahMos regiments might be stationed across Palawan, Luzon, and Batanes. 2 NMESIS units could operate jointly with United States Marines during regular rotations. A single mid-range battery, if acquired, would complete the architecture, turning the country into a forward missile hub along the first island chain. In strategic terms, the Philippines would move from being a gap in regional defenses to a cornerstone of the Indo-Pacific's southern arc. This missile middle game is not about aggression, it is about leverage. It gives Manila a seat at the strategic table and deters coercion without requiring escalation. For decades, the Philippines lacked the means to assert control over its maritime domain. Now, through partnerships with India and the United States, and possibly with Japan and South Korea, it is beginning to acquire the tools to do so. Each missile battery deployed is also a political signal that sovereignty can be defended by precision rather than volume. Ultimately, the age of missile diplomacy has arrived for Manila. In the chessboard of the Indo-Pacific, the Philippines no longer plays only the opening, the phase of building alliances and asserting claims, but the middle game, where tactical positioning and calculated deterrence decide the outcome. The question for the coming decade is whether these layers of deterrence will hold under pressure. The answer will define not just the future of the Philippines, but the stability of the entire Western Pacific.